Hi there, my name's Chris, and this is a longer, more thorough tuning video for a Ravi Shankar style sitar. This is when your sitar has been lying around for a few months or banged around on a bumpy road. And so I'm going to take my time showing you how I would tune a sitar like this. And we start off by playing a tanpura. This is especially if you're going to be tuning by ear. If you're someone who is not familiar with tuning by ear and you want to use one of the apps, you can get any kind of app, but I use an iStroboSoft app, and when you turn that app on, it automatically shuts off the tanpura so that it can listen only to your sitar. So start with the tanpura. I use iTabla Pro for my little iPod here. And it has a nice tanpura sound, and it's being tuned to D. My sitar is in D, but you might have a sitar that you like to tune to C sharp or even C, which is fine. So it's very out of tune. This is, all these pegs have become loose over time, and so we really have to get started here, and so we're going to turn our little tuning app on. This is my iStroboSoft, and as you can see, the tanpura gets shut off immediately. And basically what I'll do to start tuning a sitar that's way out of tune is I'll just get the first tarup string in tune as my template for the rest of everything, because if I get this in tune, it's not as likely that it'll go out of tune again. So my tuning app says it's at C, and I also have a chart which will tell me which C that is, so that I don't go too high or go too low and snap the string. And if you're a beginner, a tuning chart like this could be really, really helpful. So my tuning chart says that the first tarup should be 293.66 hertz, and my app has that. So that's going to be good enough to start off with. If I want to get it to go slightly higher, I just press in a little bit more and don't twist so much, but just... And then if I go a little bit too high, I take my fingernail on my middle finger and I give a little tug on the string. And if that doesn't work, then I have to pull this back slightly. So with that as my template, I'm ready now to go through all the rest of the strings. So for the first two, the playing string and the jaw string, I'll bring my sitar into this position so that I have good ability to press in and turn these pegs into the wood more strongly, because as you can see, this is really loose. So I get it to a place where just without playing I can feel that there's still some slack there, but it's not getting too tight. And I also loosen up both my fine tuners so they're completely loose, and then I start to play the string while turning, so that I'm always aware of what my turning of the peg is doing to the string. And if you're not experienced and you don't know where that D is, you can use the app or use the chart. And I have to bring this up to 146.83 hertz. When you get close, just hold on and go slowly. And when you get around where you think you might be, in the right place, remember that if your sitar is resting like this with weight on this tumba, it will be slightly out of tune, and when you go like this, this will give you a more accurate tuning. And what I do is if it goes too high, is I take my middle finger and I pull slightly upwards. Not too strong on this second string, because the second string is a more delicate string, more delicate metal. And I'm pretty close now, so what I would do is now I would take the fine tuner and push it to get it right where I need to. And a little bit too high, so I pull again with my finger. If I want to bring the string lower, I very rarely use the actual pegs to bring it lower, because I've already dug that peg nicely in there and it's quite firm, and I wouldn't want to touch that again unless I needed to make a drastic change. So that's pretty good for now, and I can check it with my third string, which I tuned in the beginning. So that's good. I think for now we're going to leave it at that. Now I'm going to bring my playing string up. It's very loose, as you can see, so you don't even need to play it obviously until you bring it to a place where it's, bring it to a place where you can lift it, still pull it up about an inch or so, and then start to play it and bring it up. And I'm going to be bringing it up to a G note, which is 196 hertz. And I bring the sitar right up here so I can get some good power into pressing and twisting in. And when I feel like I've gotten it pretty tight in there, and I can feel it's pretty tight in there, and I've gone higher than I need to, then I yank on this playing string like that. About a fifth. And then I play it again. And I've gone down now, but this time I'm going to use my fine tuner to bring it up, because I never want to have this fine tuner loose and rattling around here, and I don't even want to have it at risk of becoming loose. So I don't want to get it exactly right. I want to get it a little bit too sharp so that I can yank again. And then I'll check. And it's gone a little bit too flat. Okay, so I've gotten that G pretty much in tune. Later on I'm going to tune it using a harmonic so that I can actually hear what the D sounds like, because I want to focus my energies on getting all the D's to be ringing beautifully. But for now, this is good. Now, the two bass strings are very, very loose, and that's pretty typical if your sitar's been lying around for a long time. So you just bring your sitar in a way so that you can get some good traction and some good strength on digging those pegs in. And this third string is the pancham, or the A, and it's going to be brought up to 110 hertz. So I'm getting pretty close. And as you can see, as I turn this peg, I'm constantly playing with my right hand. I don't want to risk tuning this like this without hearing anything, because your risk of going too high is too great. And again, I'll go too high, a little bit higher, digging in all the while, and I'll also loosen up both of these fine tuners. When I feel I've gotten that quite tight, I then begin the process of pulling this string. And I go to the second fret here, and I pull up to a D. And as you can see, that's gone down. And now I'll start to use the fine tuner. Again, I'll go a little bit too high, and then I'll pull again from the second fret. And sometimes I'll pull up to a little higher note. And sure enough, pulling up to that higher note has gotten it to go down too far. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Usually if you're planning to play the two bass strings, you're going to need about 20 to 30 minutes going back and forth between pulling and retuning in order for those two bass strings really to stay put. But we're going to leave those for now. We'll just do this lower courage string. This is the low D. Very loose. And that's right around where it is, but I'm going to bring it a whole step higher. And then I'm going to pull on it. Again, from the 2nd fret. That's a flat 7, or the kumani, and I'll just bring it up to the high sa, and then bring it right back down and see what happens. Well, it's stayed pretty well. I'm going to now use the fine tuner. Okay. I'm going to leave that there for now. They're not really fully in tune by any means, but they've been corrected from where they were in the case all those months. Now before I do the chikaris, I'm going to recheck my first two strings, because oftentimes when you tune the courage and puncham and you put that much effort into them, the other pegs might become loose, especially if you're tuning for the first time. Sure enough, the 2nd string has gone flat. So I'm going to bring that up. And then, again, pull on it with your finger. It's a little flat still, so now I'm going to use this fine tuner over here. And then always, the final thing you do with any string is always pull, just to be sure it's really stayed. Okay, good. My playing string has gone a little flat, so I'll just push that. And then pull. Push a little bit more. Now I can tell that my low D string was a little bit too high. Okay, so that's pretty good for the first 4 strings. Now for the 3 chikari strings. This one is in A at 220 hertz. I'm at G now, so now I have to start to be careful. Get a little bit of good solid traction ability to really twist and push that in. You might even hear it creaking like that. And then you take your fingernail, your middle fingernail, and you pull up on the string like this to make it go flat again. And then again, there's no fine tuner for these 3 strings, so you really have to actually use this peg to make it go sharp again. And that's pretty good. Now these 2 final chikaris, this is tuned to D. This is again 293.66. And then I take my fingernail and yank on it to try to make it go flat. It went a little flat, so again I press in. And yank on it again. Okay, then finally this chikari string. People get nervous tuning this one because it has to be tuned to a high octave D, 587.33 hertz. Now mind you, you can tune this up to an E higher, and still not break it. So don't be too scared, but be very careful with this one that you're always playing it as you're turning. And then give that a little pull. You can grab the string between your thumb and middle finger and give it a little pull here without letting it snap off that little post there. Bring it up. Little tug. Now, as you would expect in a sitar that hasn't been tuned for a while, all these have gone out of tune slightly again, but now they've gone out of tune only slightly. I might be able to rely on the fine tuners only to bring them back up. So the second string, which is the drone string, the third string, the pancham, and the fourth string, the courage, low D. That's given a nice ring on the tarab strings. Now you can't really rely on that. The moment you start to pull on those two bass strings, they're going to go out of tune, but for our purposes now, they're all right, and I might even hook them out of the way for the time being, just to get everything else perfectly in tune. Another pull on this second string just to make sure. It's a little bit flat now, so I press the, and then a final pull. Okay, now the playing string. I give it a yank, and then now this time I'm going to actually tune it in a different way. I'm going to tune it using a harmonic. A harmonic is when you're going to not press on the string in the way that you normally would, but you're just going to touch the string and touch it very lightly, and then quickly remove your finger from the string as soon as you strike it with the right hand. So here I am at the 7th fret, and I'm going to be trying to get this to be, instead of a G, which is the 4th of the scale, I want this to be a D. But I want it to be a D without having to press on any of these frets, because these frets might be in the wrong position slightly, and they might sort of not give me an accurate reading. So by playing this harmonic, I get to hear a D, while at the same time knowing whether this string, an open string, is in tune or not. So I'm touching the string at the 7th fret, I'm playing, and then I'm quickly removing this finger. And you might have to move your finger around slightly to get that exact spot where it's going to ring the loudest. So for me, it's just a little bit past this fret. And I can see that this is going to now tune to a high D at 587.33 hertz. And I'm going to need to push the fine tuner. It's pretty good. Now I'm going to yank on it again. Yank about a 1/5, about that much. But you don't have to play it when you're doing that yanking, because it sounds really annoying to go. Just give it a yank like that. This playing string can handle that kind of a pull, whereas you know, the second string cannot handle a pull like that. You have to be much more gentle with the second string. It's gone a little bit flat again. Now if you come to a place where this fine tuner can't really go any further, what I'll often do, especially if I'm tuning a sitar for the first time, is I'll pull that fine tuner all the way back, give it a yank. Now obviously it's way down, and I'll actually bring this tuning peg, use it to bring it back up to where I'm close. And use that opportunity to dig this in again even a little bit deeper. Then again, I'll give it a yank, and then I try the harmonic. And it's flat, which is good because I want this fine tuner to get pressed in there so that it's not loose and rattling. I get it to go a little bit too high and then pull. Now I'm finally ready to try it on the fret, at the 7th fret, to see whether this is going to be a real D. And I'm not sure at this point, so I have to see the harmonic again. It's a little bit flat. So that's pretty good, but I'm not hearing any tarab strings ringing, so I have to check this tarab string. And it's gone flat, so you have to be careful. Your template might have actually gone out of tune while doing all of this major tuning. Now if I want to bring it a little bit lower, sometimes I'll just take my thumb and try to put a little bit of pressure on the lower part of this peg. You can see how that goes down. Let's see if that has solved it. Yeah, we get a great ring now. Now we know that this fret is actually in the right position because the harmonic is in tune, the fret is in tune, and now we know our tarab is ringing, and the app confirms it. Now we go through all the other strings. Now I'm ready to pull out these Karaj and Pancham strings. And I'm not going to mess with these by pulling on them, because if I do, they'll go out of tune. So this is a kind of this is a way of keeping them in tune, and if you don't want to hook them away, you want to try using them because you like the sound like this. If you like that sound and you don't want to hook them away, then you just tune them using these fine tuners. But just bear in mind that if you actually want to play on them, you're going to have to really spend 20 to 30 minutes with those two strings, bending and pulling until they're in tune. So the only thing we have left is the rest of the tarab strings, and my method for tuning the tarab strings is to keep my left fingertip on the peg and my right fingertip on the string so that I know where I am. So let's go through all of them together like this. I missed that one. Some of them are so out of tune that they're very loose, but that's the way that you follow through so that you're never tuning a tarab string while actually you're playing a different one and you're going to snap a tarab string. And you don't really want to snap a tarab string if you can help it, because it's just not fun changing a tarab string. So this involves a little skill. That one we already tuned and it's good. This one I'm in Rag Kamaj right now, and so I'm going to be tuning this to Sa, Ni, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Komal Ni, regular, Shuddha Ni, High Sa, Re, and Ga. And again, your tuning chart will guide you through this if your ear is unable to figure it out. You get it a little bit too high, and then you pull up with your fingernail on the string to get it a little bit lower. And you try to get it basically in tune, and then you're going to have to test it on the frets and go back and forth between testing the fret and testing the tuning of the string and see whether the fret is in the slightly wrong position or whether the string is slightly out of tune. This is a re. As you can see, when I'm turning the peg, I can hear the string ringing, so I know where I am. That was in tune. And so was that. Oh, I'm getting lucky here. Oh. Now this is a high sa. Sometimes I'll tune the high sa near the beginning of the whole tuning process. Just to have one more sa that's in tune. Now mind you, it's a lot easier to tune with a tanpura machine by ear than to tune with these tuners in a lot of ways. So if you're sort of addicted to a tuner, try to wean yourself off the tuner and work your way towards being able to tune by ear using a tanpura machine. And that's the tuning. Maybe you would give yourself a full solid hour to tune a sitar and take your time with it and enjoy your riyaz.